It is really great to have a business coach, depending on what you're, what you really want to do with your business. It's nice to have someone else's experience, advice, or just someone to almost vent to in a way, to be like, oh my gosh, I'm just barely making rent this month and paid my own rent, my house rent and plus my gym rent. So they're like, give you ideas. Okay, this month you're going to run a promotion, or next month you're going to do this, and give you a plan. But Jill Coleman, my friend Concita, does some stuff with Jill Coleman, really likes what she's doing, but she's doing a little different than just the gym stuff. It's more like personal coaching too. And there's a lot of good ones.
Make sure you talk to people that they've worked with, obviously, just like any other coach. Make sure you you talk to other people that they've worked with to see what kind of coaching they get, and there's usually different levels and stuff in terms of how involved you want them to be. But
yes. The Cosgroves have business coaching as well.
Yeah, Results
Jill
Fitness.
Coleman.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, like, you don't just have to worry about fitness business, right? Like, business is business.
Right.
I have a business coach. I'm her only one. I was her only fitness business. Now she's got others, but she's great. And she was referred to me by a friend of mine who took her recreation business from 1 to 14 locations. And I was like, all right.
Okay, sold.
Yeah. Ask people you look up to, or that are doing it you'd like to do. Like, do you have a business coach? Are they taking on new clients? And
Okay.
cool. There's room for everybody out there. So.
Can you give those original names again that you said in the very beginning?
Pat Rigsby and Nick Berry were fitness consulting group, and then Bedros has, what is it? Fitness Business Mastermind. Yeah, there's a couple ones. And then the Cosgroves have the Results Fitness Coaching.
And then there's
personal branding. Jill Coleman does really well.
Yeah.
I've seen hers. I'm really
and then there's NPE, which is Net Profit Explosion, which does a lot. So.
But like she said, business coaching is business coaching. So there's people that are just very good at business that can help you with your business, regardless of what it is. Yeah.
Cass, there's one right there.
Yes.
I wanted to ask you all, like, how much time you spend on marketing, and are you using a lot of resources like Hootsuite and stuff to be able to keep your social media going? And when you do marketing, are you seeking help from other people? Are you doing it all on your own? Like, how are you guys balancing that with the actual work part, or actual training people, and then the marketing on top of it?
Do you have a brick and mortar, or are you personal brands, or what? Then, man, the line between marketing, it's all marketing now, right? It's not. It's more about inclusiveness and hey, here's what I'm doing. Here's how we're training. It's just bringing people along for the ride of your life, from day to day. And I think that marketing, that's very formal. I never think of myself there are the projects that I think about as marketing, and I hate doing them and I avoid it. And then meanwhile, I'm tweeting every word that's said, at this conference. And I don't think about that as marketing. I think about it as sharing. But it's funny how it's stuff like that will attract people to you. It's the more authentic and genuine, and hey, here's what I'm doing. Just share what you're doing rather than think about here's what I can do for you. The minute you start talking like that and brittle and stilted and making it more formal, I think it's not the way things are going anymore. It's not what people are looking for. We've all heard the shtick.
Do you want to lose weight? We all do. No, that's not what people want anymore.
Well, marketing is about building relationships with people, and so if you really focus on building the relationships, then it doesn't come off so cheesy and salesy and things like that. And marketing is also about telling people how you can help solve their problem, and maybe they don't even know they have that problem yet, but you know that you have solutions that you can help people with. But you can't just shout it out with a megaphone. You have to build the relationships first.
And I used to be really uncomfortable with marketing, and then actually, because I used to, when I had my brick and mortar, worked with Pat Rigsby and Nick Berry, and Pat said, if someone came to you and they wanted to lose 30 pounds, what would you tell them? And it's well, I'd talk to them about nutrition and help them with their exercise and sleep and stress management. And he's like, then why aren't you offering every single one of those solutions? Because you know that you can do it better than people in your market or other people around you. So you literally, kind of comes back to that Girls Gone Strong, you have a moral obligation to get that information to people. And that's what helped me switch from being oh, this is so awkward telling people that I'm good at this. Then it's no, they need this information because it's not out there. So you literally have an obligation to get that to those people and to offer them whatever solutions you have, even if they don't know they have that issue.
But I do think it's important, you had mentioned Hootsuite, and to have someone, and it may be through some of these business consulting groups as well, where you can look behind the scenes at the metrics and you put your efforts into a certain thing. Are you tweeting all the time? Are you maybe on Facebook and maybe you think, gee, I should buy a Facebook ad to reach a certain group of email addresses that I've got? wherever you're putting your efforts, you want to see what's the return on that investment, whether it's time or money. And that's by looking at the metrics behind. What am I doing and who's responding and what does that translate to? Do I want that to translate to people looking at my Facebook page or buying my services? What do I want out of the efforts that I'm putting out? And that's only through the behind the scene metrics that you can do that. And so your online efforts need to be set up so that you can gather those metrics, and that takes someone who knows how to help you do that.
Probably a blend of the calculated and the messy, I think.
And then other thing to consider is that, and I'm a big fan of tracking everything, obviously. So I track my marketing metrics as well, and I know what efforts I've done have led to nothing and what I've done that's led to a whole lot of business. But the other thing I recognize is that don't judge, if you pick some marketing effort, whatever it is, whether it's spending more time tweeting, because time is money, right? So even though that's not marketing, it is marketing, you're spending your time on it. Are you getting results? But at the same time, don't judge it too quickly, right? You're not going to get results from anything, or you're not going to get long-term results from anything in one effort, right? So if you do one Facebook ad and it's unsuccessful, that doesn't mean Facebook ads will be unsuccessful. You need like 7 or 8 or 10, like do an actual plan and then see how successful that is and then judge it.
You know, and now I'm not trying to be the dissenting opinion here, to keep bringing it back to like, you know, do a little bit of the mess, but you don't know how people are finding you, and it's really tough to track everything. I met Mama Lion, I think her name is Jen. She's like, oh, I found you because I used to live in New Zealand and I saw your post about your wedding. We had a spiral aisle, and I was like, that's how we got connected. Like that's not, you know, like that's not marketing, but that's how we found each other.
Absolutely. That's how I found Molly, was I was just, you know, sick with Hashimoto's disease and Googled it, and I resonated with you. So I mean, that's how you resonate with people. Then I think.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's about putting out a lot of content over a long period of time. I've been helping.
Being authentic. I mean, you sharing personal struggles and not just being that girl on Facebook with her abs and her life is perfect and you know, I mean, truthfully, I mean, resonating that it's real people with real struggles and being authentic. I mean, I think is what draws people like me to something like this. You know.
And you also have to be cognizant that Facebook and Twitter don't like you. So you want to be on there enough, but at the same time, don't give everything away on that, because then what's your revenue stream? It's the people coming to you and what you're getting actually paid for. You know, it's a marketing tool, but don't put everything out there.
Facebook ads too. So I ran some ads with my husband, and my husband ran ads for his Off the Floor book, and I ran ads for Lift Weights Faster. And something weird happened, like where I don't think that it tracks everything perfectly accurate. Maybe it's just another touch with somebody so that they see you and then they end up going to buy it someplace else. But the ads on his Off the Floor book were saying that they weren't converting, and yet he was making, I mean, like a marked increase per day, even though the Facebook, like the tracking said 0. But it's like it went from, you know, here to here when he started running ads, but like it's hard to say. That the tracking is entirely accurate. It's just tough to keep track of.
I'm not sure that it's entirely accurate either,
Yeah.
but somewhere between that and Google Analytics or whatever else you use, you can sort it out.
Yeah.
I'm someone that actually hasn't put a lot of effort into marketing or tracking. I had JC Dean help me set up my blog because I honestly just didn't know how to do it, and the old one was just a super simple template. But another thing he told me when I was worrying about making it pretty and making it this and looking, he's like, you don't need that at all. He's like, you just need the content and you need to keep putting it out there, and then you can start making it like more expert looking or whatever. So honestly, that was the biggest thing. Like I stopped worrying about making it look like someone else's who'd been doing it for a long time. And I just kept pushing content. So for a while, I made it a goal. I had to put a blog post every single month. And then gradually I started participating in forums and threads and stuff, and you talk to other people, and that's kind of how it grew from there, right? So
That's one of Jill Coleman's big things is don't worry about it being perfect, just do it, and you can figure it out later, because if you wait for it to be perfect, you'll never launch it. I had the most hideous website until like, I don't know, March of this year, and so, but people were still going to it. I did, it was so bad, yeah. Jen's
You were
like,
making fun of Jen for
her slides, yeah. Well, she can make fun of me back for my website. I had someone who jerked me around for 6 months, but anyway, so that's another reason it's important to get testimonials from people that you work with. But yeah, so just jump in and start doing it and figure out the details.
Because some of these like online coaches have some really amazing systems, and it looks so organized and beautiful, but you know, if you're starting out, mine's gotten way better over time, but you just have to start doing it and then put yourself out there. Like, you are who you are because of what you do. So don't forget that what you do is why people are attracted to that. So.
Yeah, well,
so, you know, they say like you have 7 seconds to make a first impression, and so if it's not pretty, like that's kind of where I get paranoid. I'm like, oh, it doesn't look good, I can't put it out there. But again, it's about the content, not so much about how it looks. But how do you merge those two ideas?
I'll just keep working at it. That's what I would say.
Well,
Like,
and maybe it
or-
can just be good enough. Like, we're all so hard on ourselves, and you get caught in that whole perfection trap that, oh, I can't put it up until it's 100%, and I can't ship this article out because it's just not. But you have to just do it. I mean, that's a big Seth Godin thing. I don't know if you read his stuff, but you just have to ship, because it doesn't matter how perfect it is if no one ever gets to see it. So put it out there, tweak it over time, make it good enough, and just, you know, keep
And
going.
people will be jerks no matter how perfect that it is, and so just like totally be ready for that.
It can be
because-
perfectly edited and perfectly cited, and there's never a spelling mistake, and someone's taken their time to spend hours writing comment after comment. Someone wrote a whole blog post about one of my articles. I was like, score, that's like the height of simply to say how much he hated every single point in my article. And I was like, I feel so flattered.
Thank you.
Turn it into the positive. Right?
But yeah, I mean, you know, to be fair, like, you want it to look good and everything, but it's not going to be perfect right away. So.
Deanna?
I'm going to totally switch topics.
Yep.
I have read in a lot of the fitness industry of plagiarism, and I saw with Jill Coleman's site, she had a lot of stuff stolen. Have you ever come across that and saw your entire article be stolen? And there's a few other nutrition gurus that aren't nutrition gurus I've seen on Twitter that have stolen like entire paragraphs and stuff like that.
I had an entire article that was actually owned by Shape Magazine, lifted with someone else's byline on another site. And it's just one of those things, it's this odd thing that, you know, oh, I'm up really late, I'm gonna go surf on the web, I'm gonna look for a topic, and my own article pops up verbatim with someone else's name.
Shape Magazine.
It was, well, and it was bought and paid for by Shape Magazine. I had written the article for them. They owned it. And so I immediately wrote an email to this person who was actually a colleague who I know. Oh, no. And who you know, you never know. I wrote and I said, perhaps you're unaware that this article has been posted that is, the copyright is owned by Shape Magazine, but I wrote it. I highly suggest that you take this down immediately, and I have to inform Shape Magazine that this is up, and it's up to them what they will do legally. And so the next day I received, my goodness, I'm so sorry, I'm not quite sure what happened. When I applied for this job, they wanted an example of popular writing style, and so this still never made sense to me. I submitted your article as something that I could write. Wow. And the webmaster must have misconstrued that it wasn't my article. Well, you know, you get this stuff, and it's only through random, you know, luck that you find it. But yeah, you need to, you know, head on, confront it, and have, you know, be legally prepared to have someone with a lawyer's degree behind their name write an article, write a letter for you. And really, you don't have to do much else except write a letter. And once people get to know that you're actually watching for this, I've seen it happen a couple of times. And in what we do, there's enough information now in the public domain that very often it sounds exactly like what you would write, but it could be that people aren't intentionally sort of lifting your words, but there's so much jargon used that it sounds exactly the same. So it's really hard, and I write a ton, and I have a lot of books out, and it's only when you know it's actually your voice.
Yeah,
so
you can hear your voice.
You can hear your voice, and it's disconcerting. That in particular was not okay, but after a while I've become kind of immune to it, because I feel like, you know, I have my name, and I think people, know my words and my voice. But I highly suggest that you do surf and watch for your stuff to pop up, because it will.
I think almost just as bad as having someone lift your work is to change what you've written in your work and put your name on it.
Oh no.
So that happened to me on T Nation, and that's when I stopped writing for T Nation. I wrote an article about fructose and just manipulations you can make with fructose in your diet, and TC changed every word fructose to fruit. So it looked like I was saying like fruit was evil, and changed actually some of the sentences, published it, put it out there because he just liked controversy on that website. He just wanted people to like go crazy. So I was getting text messages from like Tim Ziegenfuss, like all the ISSN people. They're like, Sandra, what did you write? And I was like, oh my God, I did not write that. And I was like, get that down, get that down. And I could find it for a little while, like searching to try to make sure it was gone. And then this was 2005 maybe or 6. It was like even 2 years ago I had someone say, yeah, I don't trust Cassandra Forsythe because of that article she read about fruit. And I was like, look back, I like freaked out on them. I did not write that article. Can you even find it? You can't find it anywhere. And if you look, you'll find the original out there still. And it was crazy.
Was it an apple a day will make you fat? Was that the one it was, or something like that?
No, but it was something, I can't remember what the title was. I tried to block what exactly happened. But I stopped writing for them after that.
We have a couple different issues going on here though. One is bad editing.
Yeah.
And if you are misrepresented in a publication and it's because of an editing job, you do have the right, and hopefully before
No, he
it's published-
admitted. He changed it to cause a shitstorm.
Sure. I'm saying it's still a bad editing job.
Okay.
I'm not saying it was accidental. I'm saying it was
a purposeful bad editing job.
It could be either way.
Okay.
If you feel like you're misrepresented in print by somebody you're working for, like you have the right to say like, listen, you can remove my byline from that. I don't want my name on that. You can't make them change it back. Unfortunately, like once you've turned it in, that's, they've paid for you for the content. You can always ask for your byline to be removed. As far as plagiarism goes, it's never okay. You also can't, though, this is important, you can't copyright ideas. You can only copyright the way you express your ideas. That's your intellectual property, is the way you express your ideas. So, every one of us can write an article on the same topic and we can have the same takeaway, the same broader idea, and that's not illegal at all. So as much as that can be frustrating, you're like, I know where you got that idea. I came up with that idea, but it's the expression that matters. Legally, it's really tricky, and it's getting trickier all the time, unless you're willing to put a whole lot of money into a lawyer who, the cease and desist letter is absolutely the best way to go, and most of the time that'll do the trick. It doesn't always do the trick, and that's when you have to decide, like, all right, am I willing to invest in a lawyer to take this, to court, or whatever steps before court, if you can manage that.
There's actually a mathematical formula for proving plagiarism. Like, there's a probability of having a certain string of words. You could have a statistical expert.
The statistician knows this.
I
know, she knows.
You can hire this girl.
I know.
Yeah, it's true, because I've heard of that in some high-profile plagiarism cases.
Yes, academic organizations use that software all the time to track if the kids in college courses are plagiarizing.
Karen?
Kind of flattering, but
no, it's
Well,
not.
there's spam sites that do it too. Literally every time I post something on Girls Gone Strong, acnemarks.com and Health and Fitness Chicago or Health and Wellness Chicago, it's literally on their site. My friend Authentically Emmy actually had someone copy it, and at the bottom it said this content may not be reproduced on any site other than Authentically Emmy. Like, they literally took it and copied the part where they said that they weren't allowed to take it because it's like a spam bot. So sometimes that stuff happens too.
Karen?
Fitness journey, becoming a fitness competitor. Not only did they take her story, they put their name on it, and then they had it published in the magazine. So she found out everything and contacted them. The good thing is she followed through. Of course, they denied it. Oh, it was my team. I didn't even know they
Right, always.
Yeah. Well, they took your information and your story and put your name on it. So now she's contacted the magazine, and she's gotten a column on it. So they now have a column for her to write her stories, but she had to go through a lot of process.
Positive.
Be tenacious about it.
Was the Fitness Magazine just got caught doing that?
No, they didn't, but one of their writers had done it.
That's why I brought it up. And also, there's another
They didn't know, like, to be clear
guru
though.
out there that used John Berardi's, and she said, well, he's so ancient, I didn't think anybody would.
Yeah, I read that whole thing.
Oh my gosh, that
That's
was.
why I brought it up. She's like, oh,
She
I
said,
found
I
an
thought
article
he wasn't relevant anymore.
I'm like, you don't even know.
And I'm like, are you kidding me? You don't think John Berardi was relevant anymore? Really?
You're not even.
She wrote, that was a big
She took
kind of
massive
fiasco.
eating and called it her own, right? Female eating.
Yeah, it was, just wanted to bring it up because it bugged me a lot.
It's just part of the being out there. I mean, in a way, you have to have a very hard shell.
It is, but rail against it. It's not okay.
No.
Did you have a question? Yeah, yep.
I'm just wondering if any of you know about the, I guess not for the writing, but for photos that go up there. So I've had photos listed on my blog and on my social media account, and used in my cosmopolitan.com was used one time, and Daily Mail used, and I had other people use permission, and then I'll get an email from a friend saying, oh my God, your picture is in this article.
Same deal. Ask them to cease and desist, and then from there, you need to decide whether you're going to take legal action or not.
Any other questions? Oh.
I have a question, and maybe it relates a little bit with Joy's presentation, but a lot of my clients, they say, I don't have a connection with my brain and my muscles. Like when I say, you know, fire glutes, they're like, I don't know what you mean by that. And I'll do different tests and try to help them figure it out. But I don't know if you guys have any like specific cues or exercises or specific things you do with your clients to help them kind of like, oh, you know, put those two together and have an aha moment.
My basic answer would be put them in a position and stop telling them to try to squeeze or fire something. So that's why like a lot of the half kneeling, and they do this a lot of Bang Fitness, which honestly is where I started being used with a lot of general population. So just half kneeling stability, right? And then you just cue them to have good alignment, and things start making connections without them having to worry about it. You know what I mean? Because honestly, sometimes telling them to fire a muscle, I remember this from after my knee injuries, where they were like, you know, lift your kneecap, fire your quad, and I'm like, okay, but nothing's happening. You know, there was like nothing there. So then it becomes a matter of, can you find a position where, you know, if you put them in a good position and it looks good, the body's going to make connections.
Less words and more moving and feeling.
Like an internal cue versus an external cue, maybe? Like I've seen people in half kneeling position where they say drive your knee into the ground. And so they try to drive their knee into the ground, and that makes their glute fire. And so I think different people respond differently to internal versus external, but sometimes just telling them to do something, or like she said, putting them in a position where their body has no choice but to do it.
Well, and if we keep telling people that they have glute amnesia or their glutes aren't firing, like then they're like, oh my God, and they're freaked out, and then for the rest of their life they have this problem because their glutes don't fire. And it's like, if your glutes weren't firing, you'd fall over, right? I mean, so they are firing. It's just, you know.
Maybe not.
But maybe not the way we want them to. But you don't want people to get so attached to a diagnosis that they can't get out of it. So just put them in positions where they can move and find it themselves.
And another thing, because I've used these words myself, and I know, like, I kind of switched over how I cue and how I coach, is that, you know, you've been walking around for years and you're pretty okay. So, you know, sometimes if someone new comes in and we see a lot that could be better, what's wrong with them, but the fact is they're walking and they're living their life, like their body's not, you know, falling over. You know what I mean? So if you also kind of put a positive spin on it, but again, I think the biggest thing is find a position where that's happening and then give it enough time too, because sometimes, you know, and then suddenly, you know how many times I've had this happen where they're like, oh yeah, I finally know what you mean. My glutes fire now.
And actually, like, you know, touch. Use your hands.
That too.
With your butt, ask first.
Yeah.
Particularly if it's cross-gender, but like if you know, woman to a man or man, like ask and wait for them to kind of, because some people actually do have, like it's going to be a weird experience if you suddenly have your thumb on their butt.
Really?
But yeah, but it can help because sometimes that connection, you know, is not quite strong. But this is what I mean. This is what I want you to.
With breathing, you know, like I'll put my hand gently on their rib cage when they exhale, right? And then they can feel this. I'm like, this is what needs to come down, right? So there's kind of a few different ways to do it, right? Without making them overthink, because, and this is another thing about motor learning, is if you try to think about it too much, your brain actually shuts down how the movement would happen. So.
Yes.
And what's one piece of advice that you always have given yourself, say 5 years or 10 years ago, whether it be like in terms of like your training or business or whatever, that would have made the most impact on where you are today?
And that's the perfect question to end on.
Yeah, so we'll go around in a circle and answer.
So just to repeat, the question was, what is the piece of advice that you would give yourself 5 years ago, 10 years ago,
Yeah, whatever, yeah.
to know where you are today?
Yeah, have had like the most impact. It could be like training, it could be on your business, but you're all obviously very successful at what you're doing. That's why you're sitting up there. So what do you feel would have been kind of like the thing that you would have sat down and said, hey, buddy, if we do this, like we're on it. Okay. Sorry to put you on the spot.
I'll go.
Marni's gonna go first. All of us are like in shock, like, oh.
Well,
So I like one thing.
for me, I'm always wanting to learn. I don't feel I'm the best right now. I'm just learning more information just on myself and other information. So to me, the very beginning started with my education to make sure I had credentials to back up what I could give, and it gave me a deeper foundation. So that's why I went back to school to become an RD after I got my master's in exercise physiology. But then my next step was being very patient with growing my business, and I'm successful for where I am right now, but I know I can do more and I want to do more, but I'm in no rush at all. I want good longevity with my business. So I'm not looking, I want to see what other successful people have done, but I'm not going to be doing some of the things that they're doing because I don't have the team, I don't have the money. So I'm just going to be great at what I can do right now with the knowledge I have.
I think for me, and I would actually say, and we sort of talked about earlier, the concept like the ready, fire, aim is something that I've never, I'm very much, a planner or whatever, so I have great content, and then I take it and I make it even better and even better and even better, and then I still haven't put it anywhere, and I haven't marketed, I haven't supported it, so nobody knows about it. The 5 people that know about it love it. But you know what, considering that like 100 hours I put into it, and they each paid like $10, I made 50 cents an hour, right? So put it out there, you can correct. I mean, obviously you want to have a minimum standard, you have your own minimum standard, but yeah. Don't be afraid to put stuff out there and then build, and every time it's going to get better, and then work on that.
Can I say one more thing? I wasn't afraid to reach out to people and to promote myself, and I got turned down by a lot of magazines when I wanted to be a writer, especially before I got my RD, and now they come to me and, we write an article for us, and I'm just like, oh, I got an email from Women's Running. Oh, I got, I'm working on another article, and that's but where I am right now. But before here's my idea. I'm like, no, we're not interested right now. So don't be afraid to put yourself out there and ask to help, and someone will find you or want to nurture you along the way.
All right, you guys, time's up.
I guess my advice I would have told myself was that it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
And awesome, actually, because there's been so many hurdles that I've gone through personally in my life. Like moving into a new country was like shocking, somewhere where I knew nobody, had no family, and just started completely new, but very lost. And then, doing, when I was in my master's, like I was in therapy almost every other day because I was losing my mind. And then the PhD, when I'm writing my dissertation, going, please don't kill yourself right now, just it's gonna be over soon. And then the divorce I went through last year, and even the beginning of this year, like I was saying to Molly, I spent a lot of time watching TV, which I never watched TV, and I just sat there and watched a lot of shows. So, but looking at it at that time is like it was okay to honor and acknowledge and saying, yes, there's gonna be some crap that hits you, but you'll come out smelling like roses in the end.
Yeah, I would say, and I'll make it short, be open to learning. I think that was my saving grace, because I was like opposite of Elsbeth. Like I started putting it out there before I had, so I made fun of myself in a blog post later, and I'm like, this is some of the dumb stuff I said. But it came from a good place, which is why I think like I've been able to progress my education and stay open to learning, because man, there's so many people that know so much more than you. There's so much out there. Like if you would have told me I would have been here, it's amazing, right? That, and look in the mirror and be like, you're awesome. Like talk positive, because it's chill out, be okay with yourself, put some makeup on, drink some coffee,
Yeah,
it's all good.
To second what Joy said, yeah, I started putting stuff out way before I should have. Like I thought in 2006 when I knew everything, like there's stuff out there. So seriously, don't read anything before like 2010, 2011. But give us a little grace if you do, and not be afraid to admit when you're wrong. Be like, that's what that's what we thought. Like yesterday when we were talking about foam rolling, you know, Joy said one thing and I said something else and Cassandra said something else, and like it's just there's so many different ways to look at it. We don't really know anything for sure, right? Things are going to always be changing and evolving. This is what we think we know right now. But
married to your opinion.
Yeah, because then you're going to look really silly in a couple years when you're like, okay, I was like fighting for this is exactly it so much, and then in a couple years it's going to be like, well, that might not be exactly what what we're seeing now. For me, in terms of like people have talked a lot about their business and things. For me, when it comes to like nutrition and exercise, it was that there is no wagon. You know, people are always like, I'm on the wagon or I'm off the wagon, and it's like there is no wagon. Like if you're, the only way you're off the wagon is if you die, because you don't have the opportunity to make a better choice, seriously, at your next meal, at your next workout, at your next whatever, and it just, that's where I got the thing, like, it doesn't matter if you go to the gym today, it doesn't matter if you go to the gym tomorrow, it matters if you're there 20 years from now, because feeling like you're on or off, like getting back on the wagon just seems so scary and daunting, and like it's going to take so long to do it. But if you don't feel like you're on or you're off, you just are, and you are where you are right now. People will say, I want to be where you are. I'm here now, I'm not there yet. Like we're all on this journey, and we're never exactly where we want to be forever. I think we kind of ebb and flow, and giving yourself a little bit of grace to realize that, and realize that you always have the opportunity to change things or do things a little different or a little bit better next time, just feels like a sense of relief instead of having to beat yourself up all the time.
Fortune favors the brave.
And I would just add to what Molly said, to realize that I think it would have helped me to know this, that things are going to change, especially as women. Your business might look very different from 5 years ago, 1 year to the next. I've opened and closed my business twice, and I've gone back to work for other people, and just different things are right at different times. And so you can come up with your best business plan, and you can launch it, and you can get started, and then your kids become teenagers, or you have a baby or whatever, or a parent dies or a parent is sick, and you have to be able to pivot constantly in your business to stay relevant and to stay successful and to stay sane, and that's okay. I don't think we get told that enough.
And for me, seek your dreams. So once you start, or as an opportunity is presented that you think maybe is something that looks pretty good, write out, what are your dreams? If there were no obstacles, what would you want to accomplish? What would you want to have? What would you want to be doing? Financially, emotionally, career-wise, all the things, what would be the most wonderful thing if you had no obstacles? And then just set your mind to it that that's where you're going. And with that, you create your opportunities. We talk about luck isn't really luck. Luck is the person who is observant enough to see an opportunity and be prepared, well prepared, as Marni was talking about, through your education and the life experience to go for it. And so that, to me, that was a place I started, but I have become stronger and stronger and stronger with. And so that at the point in my life where many of the people I know are getting ready to retire, I have just ramped up and put hook, line, and sinker into being a CEO, co-CEO of a company. I've never been in that position. I'm in CEO school right now. and I have, and I'm starting something brand new that feels like the last 33 years of my career have really been my preparation for where I am now. And it's only because you have to keep your eyes wide open and have self-confidence in the way you've prepared yourself and be able to jump at the opportunity and believe in your dreams.
How much wisdom was that? Yeah, I'm gonna follow that. That's great. Yeah, so like, yeah, figure out what you want it to look like. I love that. I love continuing education, absolutely. Like my motto is always be learning, and I love do more, do. Now, but tell me, did I imagine that you asked us what question we would ask ourselves? You did, right? And that stuck out to me because Movement Minneapolis, we have a culture of question asking. And that's we're those like maddening psychiatrist types, like where the client will be like, "What do you think I should do?" I'm like, "What do you think you should do?" And so it's can be really frustrating. But questions, that's the basis of what makes you better. And so I think that the question I would have asked myself, because there were pockets of time that I wasn't improving, is how can I be better right now? How can I move toward better? That's it.
That's a pretty good finish.
That is pretty
Seek
good.
your dreams and how can I be better?
So one of the things we'd love to end today with, this wasn't quite the end, is a call to action for all of us here. And I find that important because we hope to do this again next year and the year after and the year after, but also we should all take away from this, hopefully, a single nugget. Each one of us will be something different, but a call to action of what can we have women that we interact with do as influencers, which we all are. For me, my call to action, and I want to hear what it is for everyone, my call to action would be raise your expectations. Whether it's something you're reading, something you're buying, someone you're with, have high expectations of where that information came from, of what you're being told or what you're being sold. Make sure that it is evidence-based, that people can back up what they're telling you. And I think as women, we doubt our own knowledge and we doubt our own inner voice that's saying, this doesn't really sound right, but I guess this person must know what they're talking about. And so question that. To me is start to question and raise your expectations, because that's what the Women's Fitness Summit has really done, has given us this very high level of powerful information. And to me, it's raised my expectations of, wow, I thought I had a good trainer. So that's kind of.
I would say the call to action for myself, and if we don't have time for us all to answer, but yeah, the call to action is #GirlPowerTogether. Because that's the thing, is that this was to bring us together as a gender of the things that we can do just as well as any other gender, and I'm not saying anything specific there. But it's not often that we have been profiled for our expertise and our experiences as experts, as leaders, as women that can, as a person that can do it just as well as anyone else. And it's time to elevate that and bring us to the spotlight and say, we are the ones that are providing the information for other women, because we live it, we do it, and we are the ones that can help them. And that's what we're all here for, is to help other people or help ourselves, because that's, we have a passion for this. But it's girl power together, and supporting the other women around you and bringing us into this area and showing the world what we're capable of as a group of strong women. The guys are always like, hey, your buddy, come speak at my summit, dude, nothing against you, Nick. But you're welcome.
And share the information with other women who need it. Make sure you direct them. I mean, I love having somebody say, well, I heard about this from Joy and I got to learn about all of you guys, and so every single person up here, all the GGS Advisory Board members, you can trust what they say. You can send people, to that information. And so just make sure that you're sharing it with people, on your Facebook page or in your community with your friends and family, so that you can put them, put these amazing women in front of them and put that information in front of them.
Thank you. You guys are awesome.